Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to Doe's TV. This broadcast is in reference to the sexual assault trial of that 70s show star, Danny Masterson. Danny Masterson, the 46-year-old actor, has pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of forcible assault, having been charged in 2020 with sexually assaulting 3 women in 3 separate incidents that allegedly occurred between 2001 and 2003 at his Hollywood Hills home. He has since remained free on bail at $3.3 million. His attorney told E! News in June of 2020, following his arrest, that Mr. Masterson is innocent, and we are confident that he will be exonerated when all of the evidence finally comes to light and witnesses have the opportunity to testify. That 70s show alum, Danny Masterson, who you see on the screen, has said that any sexual encounters he had were consensual. Next slide. This is another photograph depicting that 70s show star, Danny Masterson, who denies sexually assaulting 3 women. And this is another photograph of his being in court. Now, according to E! Online, some of the most shocking revelations of the Masterson's trial is as follows. As I stated, he has pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of sexual assault, has so far been dominated by graphic testimony by an accuser, wrangling over what can be said about Scientology. Opening statements got underway October the 18th, following a week of jury selection that included a pool of 225 and finally down to 12 plus alternates, to include questions to gauge potential jury's familiarity with Scientology. Masterson has been married to his wife since 2011 and remains to be an active member of the Church of Scientology, while 3 of his accusers, whose names are not public, have stated that they are now ex-Scientologists, but were members when they were allegedly attacked. The women testified at a preliminary hearing last year that they were initially reluctant to go to police because of church pressure. Now remember, I said these incidents allegedly occurred between 2001 and 2003. He was arrested in 2020 and was free on $3.3 million bail. His trial for the sexual assault of 3 women on 3 different incidents began on October the 18th. One accuser said on the stand she was instructed not to use the R word when she told Scientology officials about the alleged result. Another testified that a church lawyer came to her home and warned her she would be expelled from the religion if she reported MASTERSON to authorities. Church of Scientology spokeswoman Karen Powell, and that's spelled P-O-U-W, denied that there was any policy in place to dissuade members from reporting crimes to law enforcement, telling the LA Times, "Church policy explicitly demands Scientologists abide by all laws of the land, including the reporting of crimes. This is blatantly clear in the documents we understand were put before the court and many others." As jury selection began, defense attorney Philip Cohen acknowledged in court that Scientology may be the elephant in the room, but the religion itself was not on trial. Now, according to Variety.com, and I'll have the links for you to read at your leisure, are accounts from the first witness, who reportedly broke down in tears on Wednesday as she told jurors that the actor had sexually assaulted her in April of 2003. The woman, who prefers to be identified at this time as Jane Doe #1, testified that she remembered waking up in Masterson's bed with him on top of her. She also said she tried to shove him away with a pillow, but he grabbed her wrist with one hand and grabbed her throat with the other. She continued, "I just couldn't breathe," she said, crying and dabbing her face with the tissue. He squeezed really, really hard. She added that she felt that I was going to die. And these are in quotes. "I can't do this," she said a moment later, shaking her head. "I can't do this." The court then took a recess. Jane Doe #1 returned to the stand after the break and continued with her testimony. Masterson is on trial for 3 counts of forcible sexual assault that could send him to prison for 45 years to life. I repeat, Masterson of That 70s Show is on trial for 3 counts of forcible sexual assault that could send him to prison for 45 years to life. His trial began on Tuesday with heated conflict over how much the witnesses will be allowed to delve into issues relating to the Church of Scientology. Masterson and all 3 of the accusers in this case were Scientologists at the time of the incidents. Judge Charlene Olmedo has allowed limited discussion of the church to show the relationships between witnesses and their motivation. But she has also tried to exclude testimony that would be, in legal terms, more prejudicial than probative. She drew the line on Tuesday when Jane Doe #1 testified that Scientology warns its members against fraternizing with the enemy, meaning non-Scientologists. And the goal of Scientology is, quote, to clear the world. Jane Doe #1 testified that the initial encounter with Masterson in September 2002, in which she alleged he assaulted her against her will. On Wednesday, she testified that after the incident, she was sent to speak with a church ethics officer and was forced to make peace with Masterson. She also said she was required to complete a few weeks of, quote, ethics programs, end quote, and was given to understand that she was responsible for the encounter. My understanding my entire life was that you can never be a victim, she testified. Nothing ever happens to you that you didn't cause. No matter what condition you find yourself in life, no matter how horrible, you are responsible. You created that. She went on to testify about the subsequent sexual incident from April of 2003. She told the jury that she went to Masterson's home. He gave her something to drink and then threw her into the jacuzzi. She said she began to feel like she would throw up and that she had trouble seeing. She said Masterson volunteered to take her to a bathroom upstairs and that he put his fingers down her throat to get her to throw up. She said she resisted, saying no, but Masterson picked her up and brought her up the stairs. I'm just making sure I'm very careful with some of the graphic words being used here. After a slight struggle, she felt weak and, according to Variety, took a swing at him but didn't land much force. Then, she said, Masterson picked her up and put her on the bed where she passed out. When she awoke, she testified Masterson was on top of her with his full weight, assaulting her. In the subsequent struggle, she said Masterson reached into a drawer in a nightstand and pulled out a gun. She said he held it up and said, "Shut the F up." When asked what she felt, she answered, "Fear." She said she understood that it was against church policy to report a Scientologist in good standing to the police, and that she could be declared a suppressive person for doing so. My understanding is I would immediately be guilty of a high crime. A high crime comes with a penalty of expulsion from a Scientology. My life would be over. My parents would have to disconnect from me. My daughter couldn't go to her school. I wouldn't have anywhere to work or live. I wouldn't have anywhere to go. In April of 2004, about a year after the alleged sexual assault, Jane Doe number 1 wrote a letter to the church's international justice chief, who was responsible for overseeing all judicial matters for the church. She asked for her permission to bring criminal charges against Masterson. About a week later, the official wrote back referring to her Scientology apologies, saying that she must apply LRH technology to any problem. He chose to point out that the policy that said I can't go to the police, she testified. In June 2004, she went to the LAPD anyway and filed a report against Masterson for sexual assault. A short while later, she received a call from Swartz, the ethics officer. Swartz wanted to know why the LAPD called him, and she said she had given them his number. He said, "You're effed," she testified. "You have no idea how effed you are." Jane Doe ultimately received $400,000 in a settlement with Masterson. She testified that she felt compelled to sign a settlement agreement, which included a non-disclosure provision. She then said she had not done so. Church officials were preparing to declare her a suppressive person. "I could enter into the NDA or go get a declare," she said. Philip Cohen, Masterson's attorney, began his cross-examination late Wednesday afternoon and began to probe discrepancies between Jane Doe number 1's testimony and her initial account with the LAPD in 2004. Cohen is expected to resume cross-examination Thursday morning, which is this morning. So again, Danny Masterson of that 70s show denies the sexual assault of 3 women. And this case went to trial October the 18th, and it will resume later on today, October the 20th. Updates will continue, and as they come in, I will be reporting them to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And again, if you haven't, please make sure that you please like, subscribe, but most importantly, share this video. And please make sure you leave any thoughts, opinions you may have in my comment section. Again, thank you for tuning in to another broadcast of Doe Eyes TV.